If you have ever lived like this, the more you care about something, the more likely you are to ruin it, then do not be too quick to call that devotion. The more you try to keep someone close, the more the relationship hardens. The more you fear failure, the more stiff and awkward you become. The more you try to organize life into something perfectly controlled, the more often reality rises from some unexpected place and throws everything out of your hands. A lot of people are not failing because they do not try hard enough. A lot of people are failing because they are trying to live by wrestling life itself. And life has never become kinder just because someone gripped it harder. Soren first understood this during the rainy season in a place called the Valley of Flowing Mist. The whole valley lived inside fog. The mountains and rivers folded into each other under layers of white air, as if the world there had never fully finished waking up. Long, narrow bridges crossed fast water and led toward different mountain paths. People said those bridges were like fate itself. You might think you know where you are going, but whether you actually arrive depends less on how tightly you calculate, and more on whether you know how to move with mist and current until the real road reveals itself. When he was younger, Soren hated that kind of talk. He did not believe in flowing. He believed in control. He was sharp, disciplined, and precise. He planned everything. He anticipated every risk. He believed life was a sequence of threats that had to be managed in advance. Opportunities had to be seized, love had to be secured, situations had to be controlled. If he did not hold them first, they would disappear. That was how he lived. And in the first half of life, it even seemed to work. He rose quickly. He built things. He earned trust. From the outside, he looked like a man who knew how to keep his world in order. But inside, he never truly relaxed. Every situation had to be watched. Every person had to be read. Every possible danger had to be imagined before it arrived. The more successful he became, the less able he was to loosen his grip, because loosening felt like falling. That year, he was given charge of an important engineering project in the valley. A waterway had to be carved through the mountains to bring snowmelt down to the settlements below. If it worked, entire villages would stop fearing dry seasons. But the year was unusually wet. The slopes were unstable, the current was violent. 3 teams had already failed. Soren did not believe in luck. He believed the others had simply been careless. So he entered the valley himself, with maps, markers, ropes, measuring tools, and a team trained to follow him exactly. At first, he calculated everything: where the flow should be blocked, where it should turn, where the mountain might shift, where the pressure would break. He ordered every movement, every angle, every adjustment. But the harder he tried to force the valley into obedience, the more everything resisted. Supports that seemed secure were bent overnight. Routes that had been reinforced were buried by falling rock. The surfaces he had judged safest split first. The whole project began to feel like a quiet mockery of him. When the third collapse came, something in him finally snapped. The rain was heavy. He stood on the half-drowned slope, watching the channels he had built break apart section by section. The water was not moving where he had designed it to move. It kept slipping toward another line, a lower line, a path that seemed almost to ignore him. And in that moment, the thing that burned inside him was not only failure, it was the terrifying realization that the mountain itself had no intention of obeying his design. That night, he left the camp alone and wandered the mountain road. The rain had stopped, but the fog was thick, and the stones beneath his feet were slick with reflected moonlight. As he walked, he saw a lantern beside an old bridge. An old man was sitting there. White clothes, bare feet, a worn bamboo staff resting near one hand. He did not even look up before he spoke. "You are holding too tightly." Soren had not planned to stop, but the sentence reached exactly the place in him that had become too tired to keep pretending. He turned and said coldly, "If I do not hold tightly, everything falls apart faster, does it not?" Only then did the old man look up. "You think you are controlling things," he said, "but most of the time, you are only trying to wrestle a river." The old man's name was Even. People said he had once been a man who tried to calculate everything too. Then a flood took from him every proof he trusted, and afterward he chose to live here, among bridges, mist, and water, until he learned how things really moved. Even did not give Soren some grand philosophy. He simply led him to the middle of the bridge and pointed to the river below. Moonlight leaked through the fog. The current shone silver. It was fast, but not chaotic. "Look at it," Even said. "It is not without direction. It simply has no interest in your direction." Soren said nothing. Even continued, "You have spent years trying to be ahead of everything. You grab for opportunity. You grab for love. You grab for position. You grab for outcomes. But have you noticed? The tighter you close your fist, the faster the sand escapes." It was an old image, but that night, it landed like a blade, because he knew this was not only about the waterway. This was how he had lived everything. He feared failure, so he controlled. He feared loss, so he tightened around the people he loved. He feared surprise, so he tried to calculate life. Before life happened, he had always called that responsibility. Now he saw that maybe it had only been fear, dressed as discipline. As if reading the thought, Even said, people who need to control everything are always telling the same story. They call it commitment, they call it care, they call it standards, but underneath, the voice is usually simpler. "I cannot lose this. I cannot survive uncertainty. If the world does not move according to my plan, then I am not safe." He let the wind pass between them, but life hates being held by the throat. That night, Even did not tell Soren to abandon the project. Instead, he showed him another watercourse. It was thin, easy to miss, the kind of line no one would choose first, but it bent with the land. Instead of forcing the land to bend, it slipped around the hardest rock, avoided the most dangerous turns, and made its way to the valley floor without violence. That, Even said, is allowance. Soren frowned. Allowance is not doing nothing. It is not surrender in the lazy sense. It is seeing clearly what reality already is, and then choosing to cooperate with it. Right now, you are not guiding water. You are demanding that the whole mountain submit to your fear. That sentence broke open something he had trusted for far too long. He suddenly remembered how many things in life had not failed because he cared too little. Some had broken because he pressed too hard. Some people had gone distant because he tried to hold too closely. Some opportunities had escaped because his fear made him rigid. He had always interpreted this as a sign that he needed to work harder, watch more closely, hold more tightly. For the first time, he saw another possibility. Maybe what had been creating disorder was not insufficient effort. Maybe it was the violence of the grip itself. The next morning, he returned to camp and threw away the old design. His team stared at him. Some thought he had finally broken, but he knew this was not collapse. It was the first time he had stopped demanding that reality obey the drawing in his head. They studied the water again, the land again, the slopes again, not asking how to force nature into one path, but how to join the path. Nature was already offering. This time, Soren stopped treating deviation as failure. He treated it as information, where to block, where to release, where to narrow, where to turn, where to yield, and the work began to move. Half a month later, the waterway was finished. Not in the exact shape he had first designed, in a better one, stronger, more natural, less wasteful, more aligned. That evening, he returned to the bridge to find even again. The mist was the same, the wind was the same. Soren asked him, "So is allowance just another way of saying let things happen?" Even smiled faintly. "No, allowance is not passivity. It is doing what is yours to do, without demanding that existence present you with only one acceptable outcome. A farmer will turn the soil, plant the seed, and water the field. But he does not kneel by the earth and scream at the seed for not rising fast enough, because he understands that growth belongs to a timing larger than himself." It took Soren a long time to really learn that. He began by practicing relaxation in the body. Whenever anxiety rose, he stopped rushing outward for an answer, and first sat down to notice the tension in his shoulders, jaw, hands, and chest. He learned that the body's tightness can lower the entire frequency of a life, and a person living in constant readiness cannot truly allow anything to flow toward them. He also learned to hand things over, not as an excuse, not as avoidance, but as an act of intelligence. When something had moved beyond what his mind could solve, at those moments, he would stand by the window, look into the fog, and say quietly, "This is not mine to force open right now. I hand it to a larger order." And strangely, turning points often began not long after that. Not because the universe had suddenly become sentimental, but because he had finally stopped locking himself inside the shape of his fear. He practiced gratitude too. Before, his eyes went first to the gap. Not enough, not secure enough, not fast enough, not certain enough. Now he began looking at what was already in his hands. A hot meal, a bridge that still stood, an evening sky he would once have missed because he was too busy being angry at what had not happened yet. As he stopped staring only at what was missing, the door inside him that had always been shut began to loosen. Eventually, he learned to allow imperfection in himself. Before, one mistake sent him immediately into repair, defense, explanation, proof that he was still in control. Now he began to understand that low seasons could be allowed, fatigue could be allowed, a day of not wanting to push could be allowed too. And when a person stops fighting himself at every turn, he finally becomes capable of working with life instead of against it. Years later, someone asked him why some people grow more miserable the harder they try. Soren thought for a long time. Then he said, because they are not walking through life. They are trying to drag the river behind them. And rivers have never learned to love obedience. This is Otherworld Radio. Real strength is not the moment you finally force the world to obey your design. It is the moment you stop fighting reality as if it were your enemy and begin working with it. When you release the belief that life must arrive through one specific door, you begin to understand that many things that truly belong to you never arrive by force. They arrive only after your hands have finally opened.